Hello, Exeter, and today your hot and sweaty host has a very special guest today, somebody who is recognizable, Dave Emanuel.
Bent over.
Now, Dave, I know you as the bow tie guy who is typically speaking quite well during the brass band concerts. So how about you take me back a little bit and explain to me how this came to be, your time here in the brass band.
Sure, that's totally cool. Well, Garrett, I grew up in Stratham. I started playing horn at the Stratham Memorial School. I got to junior high, and John Bethel framed things up in a way that no other music instructor could for me. And I continued playing through high school. I'm a class of '90 Exeter grad. And then I attended the University of New Hampshire, and I played in several bands there.
Wow.
When I got out of school, a friend of mine, we said, let's go look at the brass band. And she hooked us up with Bob Curran, with the Exeter Brass Band. And they said, come on down, let's give it a shot. And I had gone to school with one of the other Currans, so I said, sure, count me in. And I never left. That was 1997 for our first season.
Wow. It's pretty exciting.
Well, so my second season, I started meeting everybody else in the section. And my grandfather grew up in Amesbury and was the first principal for the new junior high school when it was opened here on Linden Street. And he had hired John Bethel, and before he came to Exeter, he had been in Amesbury, and the guy I was sitting next to was a high school teacher in Amesbury also. So he knew my grandfather, he knew my uncle, he knew that whole side of my family, and he knew how to play horn back in the vintage time when the big bands worked the circuit and played the Salisbury Beach, the Hampton Beach, the Seabrook Beach. They played all the ballrooms, the different theaters, and the beach venues. And it was so cool listening to these guys play because they phrase things different than, a 20-something-year-old kid that had never played in that kind of venue before.
Wow, that's exciting. And I'm a music geek too, so I can just picture the anticipation behind that. So you've been here since the 90s, and what keeps you going?
When I first started playing, both my grandparents were always in the audience. And my grandfather, Frank Kazaka, was just always involved in town government, town politics. He was a state representative for a period of time. And going to school here and having friends of friends of friends, to be able to be part of such a culturally rich experience like playing with a brass band, just seeing people light up when they come down on Monday nights, or tap their toes, or flash their headlights, or honk their horns. It's just so rewarding to be able to pay back to the community that brought me to where I am. Wow,
that's exciting. So what else have you done here in your time? You were in Stratham High, your family has a history of being involved here in Exeter. There's got to be more than just the brass band.
The other months of the year, I enjoy playing with different groups whenever it becomes available. I've been a sub for the Blue Note Big Band a few times. I've played all over the country on harmonica and on trumpet. I worked for the Durham Fire Department, so I still am growing up in the UNH Durham community and stay connected with the youth of the Seacoast and just some of the really cool experiences that we're able to do here.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. That is really exciting.
And then the next chapter is when we started having kids. My wife Maria and I have a Cole, a Graham, and an Ellie. And we have a 9, 11, and just about 13-year-old, and they have been coming to the brass band concerts since they've been old enough to sit on our laps or hang with Maria during the show. And some of the people, our friends and family that come, they always check on the kids, and they're a year older every year. The kids come and they bring water to everybody on the bandstand. It's usually I've always been one of the younger members of the band, and I'm reaching, maybe I'm in the midsection now, but the elder statesmen of the band have always been kind and fostering to our kids so they can see what it's like to put on a production and understand the behind-the-scenes stuff. And they're all three of them are playing instruments right now. So I'm hopefully nurturing the next generation of the Exeter Brass Band.
That would be very exciting. Another generation of kin.
Well, it's when we started playing, there have been up to 3 generations of families on the bandstand at the same time, which is crazy. And when you speak with other members of the band, I don't want to tell their story, but it has been awesome. I've played with some of these people at UNH, their parents have taught me, or I've worked with. It's a cool experience, and I'm just grateful to be able to work with people like Chick McDougal to make sure that the community it continues.
Wow, that's absolutely crazy. I mean, just to wrap my head around that, 3 generations all playing at the same time on one stage.
Yes.
So, I mean, I take it you probably come from a long line of family musicians. Everybody's, even your kids now, I mean, wow. Music in terms of the big bands, was that always an ambition in sight for yourself?
I kind of fell into that one. I like the jazz and blues genre or stage band. Big swing bands have been where I've played, or marching bands have been my forte. So I've played marches in different venues, and I've played some of the show tunes. And this has just been a great experience for me to do something that isn't always my forte. So one of the neat things about this band is our director, Michelle Boulanger, passes out a different book every week, and we get the playlist or the set for the night, and we play it.
That's crazy.
You don't see it before you hit the bandstand, or you don't see it before you see the playlist. So it's really, it's taught me to be a tighter player as far as sight reading and being able to just, we're going for it. And there's fantastic musicians in the band.
Oh my God. I remember hearing some crazy stories about, like back in the 40s, 50s in Chicago when musicians would just walk into the studio and somebody would feed them a little bit, like, hey, play in the key of B and, play this song about maple syrup. And that is insane.
Out it comes.
You guys just go ahead, you don't even practice as a band, and you just hop right on that stage and play.
That is correct.
Wow.
I will tell you that after a few years, we start to see patterns develop. So we've played most of the tunes before, but we have access to, Exeter Brass Band has its own library, and our director has access to the libraries as well. So we just have music back from Civil War period forward, which is crazy. When I'm reading the notes for the performance, some of the tunes we have, it was 25 cents for the score, for the whole band music setup. So I mean, and some of it's on original paper. It's cool.
Wow. It's original paper, back from the Civil War. And from what I heard, the Exeter Brass Band did serve at one point in the Exeter Civil War unit.
That's the word on the street.
That's the word on the street.
That the bandstand was built, the marble bandstand with the mosaics on the ceiling and on the floor were built for that band, which is, it's just cool to be able to be a piece of that.
Yeah, so walk me through that. What's that like? I mean, that whole setup, what's in there?
That's a great question. Well, when I approach the bandstand, the first thing I see is the white marble steps leading up. And when you look at the bottom, when you look at the floor, it's a round bandstand with a copper rail around it. And I can't tell you what the columns are, but there's columns all the way around it. There's no bad seat. And when you stand in the center of the bandstand on the middle of the mosaic on the floor, the bandstand just echoes and amplifies your voice. It's cool. And when you look up, there's an ornamental light fixture with a whole mosaic on the ceiling of the bandstand. And the roof is copper clad. It's beautiful.
Oh wow, that is just gorgeous. You get to play on that.
It's a piece of architectural history.
Yeah, and you get to play on that every Monday night in July.
Absolutely.
That is fantastic.
And just having people light up when we play, because they enjoy coming back together and being outside and hearing live music. It's even more meaningful after not being able to play in 2019.
Yeah. The
first year the band hadn't played since before the Civil War.
That is, yeah. And Exeter's brass band is also the oldest operating brass band in the country.
We have been told that.
All right, longest going since the Civil War.
1847.
1847. Who would have thunk? Right here in Exeter.
Civil War capital of the state of New Hampshire. Going on right here in Exeter.
All right, that sounds like that just sounds like a documentary unto itself.
Garrett, game on. We have fantastic people in the band every person would have an interesting story for you for how we got there, whether they're music educators, music appreciators, freelancers. We have a very eclectic mix of people that are fantastic musicians, and I just love playing with them.
All right, awesome. So Dave, I want to say thank you so much for coming here, and thank you so much for sharing your time. And before you go out there and kill it tonight, like you do every Monday night in July, as I've been seeing in the operations booth, is there anything you would like to share?
We are very grateful that the town of Exeter still funds and supports the band, not just monetarily, but in spirit, and both being present for our shows as well as watching it on television, because it's to be able to have people from all over the country that have touched the band or been touched by the band at some point over their life, to have that streamed into their house is a true gift, and we're very grateful to both the town and citizens of Exeter and the communities surrounding.
All right. Dave, thank you so much for coming here. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Garrett.
Yeah. And Exeter, if you too would like to have your time in the spotlight, feel free to contact us at extvg@exeternh.gov. And don't forget to check out the brass band on both our YouTube, where we'll be live streaming it every Monday night in July, Facebook, and our social media. And you can always tune in to Channel 98. Have a great day, Exeter.